In this video, you're going to learn everything that you need to know about sourcing around the world, okay? And as you put, well, as I put here, source world around, because that's the simplest way that I could draw that, to be fair. So one key thing that I do get asked quite a lot of the time is, how do I source products internationally? Or I'm struggling to find products, or more specifically, if you've seen my previous video, I'm struggling to find good suppliers, okay? Now, a lot of suppliers, or good ones as well, or manufacturers and stuff like that, there's a load in the UK. There's honestly a hell of a lot in the UK, okay? I just want to make that very, very clear. But the UK in reality is a small place. It is really a small place, and not a lot of manufacturing really goes on here, does it? So you need to think about, can I source around the globe? Whether that's the EU, whether that's Asia, whether that's the United States, everywhere, okay? Can I source around the world? And the answer to that is, of course you can. And it's one of the best things that you can possibly do, okay? Sourcing around the world is going to open you up to a whale of opportunities. And usually, I mean, this is just statistically speaking from my business, it's going to be more profitable, in my opinion. Just generally speaking, when I've got an account open with a manufacturer in the UK compared to the EU, or anywhere else, mainly the EU that I've done it, it's usually been more profitable. But what comes with that? Other things that you've got to think about, sorting your own shipping, import taxes and stuff like this, which I will get into within this video. You've got to think about one key thing, right? Oh, I dropped the pen. You've got to think about one thing, right? Is that the suppliers themselves, when you're speaking with the UK ones, just to sell in the UK marketplace, I mean, obviously you're contacting them because their products are already selling in the UK marketplace, right? So this is a whole video in itself, but you're not providing any value, much value to them, unless you're saying things like, oh yeah, we're an AI first business, we're looking to do this, this and this, or you know, we specialize in TikTok shop, it's a new emerging market, all these types of things. But generally speaking, I'll do a whole separate video on that because I could waffle for a long, long time saying that. But in general, you're not really providing too much value to them. But conversely, with some brands which are in the EU, Asia and things like this, they may have a small presence in the UK, but not a lot's going on with it, okay? And think about it, if you were a brand, let's take it the opposite way around. If you were a brand here in the UK and somebody from, let's say, I don't know, Japan contacted you, okay? Somebody from Japan, a big wholesaler in Japan contacted you and said, we want to launch your products in Japan, we see huge, huge demand for it. You're going to be like, hell yeah, let's go. Or they may say, oh yeah, there's a small presence of your product here, and maybe somebody's exported it over, but we really want to get some good supply of it over here. You're going to be like, hell yeah, let's do that, okay? There may be a lot of steps to figuring that out, but you're going to want to do that, okay? So you got to think about it from the brand's perspective. Usually they want to expand into other marketplaces, okay? Now, with my previous video, you've probably seen my supply chain. If you haven't, go and check it out on the link on here. But I told about the supply chain, and you know, there's a manufacturer and there's a distributor. Now, a lot of the international manufacturers and brands, especially if they're reasonably big, they may have a UK distributor already, and that's fine, but there's nothing stopping you contacting the brand directly still. But generally speaking, sometimes they won't have a UK official distributor, and they will open direct accounts with you, okay? Maybe like 50% of the time, okay? And I think a lot of people do know that international suppliers are the way forward, but I don't think they do it because of one thing. Them, more specifically themselves, okay? I think a lot of people have limiting beliefs. They have limiting beliefs on contacting overseas suppliers, like, I don't know, oh, there's a language barrier, or they won't be able to speak English, or what about the shipping, the fees, the taxes? And trust me, this is what people think about, because I've had people ask me all these questions and say why that they haven't been doing it, okay? So the only thing that's holding you back or other people back from sourcing overseas is actually themselves, okay? Now I'm going to break a couple of these misconceptions down for you right now, actually, because you know why? Because I don't even need to write it down, okay? Because all of these suppliers that you phone up, a lot of them will speak English. Okay, some of it may not be great English, they may not be confident with speaking English too much, but a lot of them will speak English, or they will have someone within the company that does speak English, okay? Every time I phone an international supplier up, because usually they'll just answer in their local language, I'll just be like, hi, do you speak English? And they'll be like, they'll take it like a second because they don't get many English calls, I don't think. And they'll be like, yes, how may I help? Or they'll just say, hold on a second, and they'll transfer you over, okay? Now, a lot of them speak English, a lot of them are very, very nice. All you have to do is phone them up. That's another thing. A lot of people just don't want to phone them up, okay? Maybe they think, oh, because it's international, it's going to charge me my phone bill or this, that, and the other. And? So, like, if it's going to charge a phone bill, who cares? It may be like £1, £2, £3 for that phone call. You may get an account open with a brand directly overseas, and then that may make you £500 a month. Like, who cares? Who really cares? I just want to share with you one personal tip, which some of you may not be able to do, and it could be kind of costly, but it can be very cheap as well. And I've taught a few of my students to do that, and a couple of them have done it, and they've seen just insane results. And you can actually kind of make it a bit of fun for yourself as well. It's not just business, and it's doing this. I forgot how to spell for a moment. I don't know what's going on with my brain. But visit. Why not visit them? There's been a couple of suppliers, let's say Germany, Poland, I think just Germany, Poland, which I've visited, suppliers, factories and things like this. But you can make it into like a little holiday for yourself. It's also a business expense. And how good does that look on you? You're coming all the way from the UK to come and visit this supplier. Maybe it's to get an account, maybe it's to build the relationships. Either one, they're going to give you an account and they're going to respect you and like you a lot more because you've come all the way from England, all the way to anywhere, and you've come to visit them. And a huge tip is whenever you're actually on holiday, make it sort of business as well. Like, I was in Thailand, right, a few weeks back. Unfortunately, I didn't meet with this manufacturer, but I keep dropping things. But I didn't meet with this manufacturer. But I tried to. This is the key thing. I was in Thailand, I was living there, and there's a product which is selling in the UK now, which is selling thousands and thousands and thousands per month, okay? And I was like, oh, I'm going to meet this supplier because there's only like 3 people selling it in the UK and it looks like there's huge stock issues. I'm going to get in there and buy thousands from this manufacturer because I know that the other people selling it in the UK aren't buying from this person, okay? So I tried to meet up with them, but I wasn't successful in doing so. But I've done that in a couple of occasions, okay? I've just turned literally my holiday into sort of a business trip, and it costs you what, 2-3 hours, okay? I did it in Poland. This was a big one. I was in Warsaw, Poland, and I was looking for suppliers and things like this, and I found one in Warsaw. Literally found one in Warsaw, which was doing all the major like brands like the Cadburys and things like this. They were a distributor, and I just went to go and visit them. I gave them a call beforehand. I was like, hi, I'm in the area, do you mind if I come and visit? And they were extremely, extremely welcoming and extremely friendly, okay? Did he end up buying from them? No, I didn't end up buying from them, but the purpose was still there, okay? They actually have some good prices on some products, but their minimum order is just pretty damn steep. But that means it's a good supplier though, right? But there are a few things that you need to think about, okay, when you are shipping overseas, okay? Or when you are importing from overseas. First one is the terms, okay? Terms. Okay, what do I mean by terms? I'm going to talk around payment terms, okay? Not in the sense of credit or anything like that, because you can get credit terms with them. A lot of the time they'll want the payment up front, but I'm on about like the payment terms in the sense of there's a few different ways that they will work. They will either give you a price of, let's say, €5, and that will be if you order 5,000 euros worth of product, they will ship it to the UK for free, okay? All done for you. Or another price they will give you, which is usually called EXW, one's called DDP. I won't dive too deep onto what they mean, but one's called DDP, and one's called EXW, which is X Works. DDP, they may give you a price of €5, and they may be like, if you order 5,000 euros worth of product, they'll ship it to the UK, no problems, okay? But EXW, on the other hand, is the price they'll give you. They may give it's €5, but you have to arrange all of the shipping and things like this, okay? Perhaps they don't have a minimum order for this, or perhaps it's very, very small. But you have to arrange all the things like the shipping and the imports and things like this. And that comes on to another one here, which is actually the shipping. Shipping, you need to think about the shipping. And that's done by, I don't know, usually a freight forwarder, okay? You liaise with a freight forwarder, a shipping company, and you get some quotes from them, either by sea or by air. Depends where you're shipping from, and it depends on the weights and the size of the products. Next thing you got to think about is the imports. You got things like potentially you have to pay import VAT, potentially you have to pay duties and things like this. You need to be thinking about these, but if you find a good freight forwarder here, potentially they can deal with that for you as well. Since we left the EU and Brexit came about, it's become much harder to import things and become much harder to export things. Not that much harder, to be honest, but I've only ever known it to be within Brexit, so I don't know much difference. But from what I've been hearing and what people have told me, it is much harder, okay? I don't think there's any other things you actually need to think about. If you're a VAT registered person, you got to maybe think about VAT, but there's a program called Postponed VAT, which is very, very useful from HMRC. One of the only things that they're actually done good in this world. I shouldn't have said that, but one of the only good things that they've done, and it's basically where you don't have to pay VAT on your imports, and it just gets like minus off, okay? So all you need to do when it arrives in the country is essentially just selling from there. You do need to think about one thing, and it is like the shipping times. The shipping times compared to when you're buying from UK brands and manufacturers compared to overseas ones, like maybe in Europe. Well, Europe's not that bad. You usually get your product within like a week from Europe, but if you end up finding anyone in China or something like this, or anywhere in Asia, or India or something like this, be expected for long lead times, because they're going to be shipping it by sea, okay? And from there, it does take a long, long time, especially with all the crap going on in the world at the moment, okay? And also, another thing is, you may order from Europe, okay? This is another thing. I'm getting pretty advanced here, but you may order from Europe into the UK, and you may not even want to sell it in the UK marketplace. Believe it or not, sometimes you may not want to, because obviously, if you're going from Europe here, Europe to the UK, what's further left? The USA. Now, there's been a product in the past where I've got a product from Italy, many pallets, got it into the UK, and then I've sent it to the USA, and it's been extremely, extremely profitable, okay? So that can be on the cards as well, okay? But that's getting more advanced. I could do a whole separate video around this, but hopefully this video has broke down some misconceptions that you may have had around buying from the EU and buying from overseas. It can be extremely profitable and an extremely good way to grow your business. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one.